Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Wednesday morning live chat. Rod Moore here with you from the Learn to Paint Academy. Hope you're all doing well. Going to do a bit of a cow this morning of a painting, so should be a bit of fun and something a little bit different. And just as we get going here, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we'll be underway very shortly. Good morning, Marie. Can't wait to see what's on today. I've posted the reference photo of a cow in the members area and also on the Learn to Paint Academy Facebook page. So you can go and grab that while we get started here. Morning, Terry. How am I? I'm okay. Still a little bit under the weather, so we'll see how we go today. G'day, Gail in hot and humid Georgia. Nice. Morning, Linda in Moncton, Canada. Welcome. Margaret, Victoria Point. G'day, Sharon in NZ. Morning, Marg in Massachusetts and Manju in Ontario. Welcome to you all. Sherry, I think we established last time, in Leander, Texas. This is the highlight of my day. Fantastic. Me too. Morning, Donna, up in Cairns. Hope you're doing well up there. Morning, Tatiana. Happy to be here. We're glad you're here as well. G'day, Robert in Ireland. Welcome. Morning, Carleen in Sydney. Welcome, welcome. G'day, Gary. Marie. You're talking to Marge. Okay, cool. Morning, Shez in Mathaura. Morning, Marg in near Springfield, East Longmeadow. Very good. G'day, Colin. How are you, mate? The cattle are rounded up and ready. You could say that, yeah. Morning, Merrill over in WA and Sandy in Ontario. Welcome. And over on Facebook, we have got Rosalie. Good morning in Dargo. Very wet in Dargo. I think the whole east coast of Australia is about to be hit with a Arctic blast. So you're probably getting the first of it down there, Rosalie. Morning, Janelle. Morning, Teresa in Nova Scotia and Diana in Idaho. Welcome. Morning, Batya. Carlene's operating on 2 channels here. That's good. So for those who don't know, we broadcast into the members area of the Learn to Paint Academy, but also onto our 2 Facebook pages and also YouTube. So we've got people across a couple of different platforms there. Morning, Kerry Ann. How are you in Brizzy? Nana Marg. G'day in Perth. Hey, Linda in British Columbia. And Gary in Chile, Sydney. Morning, Winnie. G'day, Al. Pleasant day in PNW. Very good. And morning, Tracy in Nelson Bay. G'day, Dawn. Chilly in the Blue Mountains. I bet it is, yeah. Off to the quacks. Oh, good luck there, Dawn. Hope everything's okay. Morning, Christine in Glasgow. You're up later than usual. It's 1 a.m. Well, we appreciate you being up, Christine. We had a few people from Ireland and UK and so on. Morning, Beverly in Ontario. Welcome. Jude, welcome. G'day, Sonia, chilly Melbourne. Hoping lockdown ends tomorrow. I think they're talking about expanding the zone, but I don't know about ending it. And anybody over on YouTube, g'day. I can't access the chat there at the moment. We'll work on that. Where are we up to here? Morning, Mary in Ireland. And Nina in California, welcome. 7 flood warnings today, says Rosalie. Stay safe, everybody who's going to be in the path of the Arctic blast. Morning, Sajada and Sandy and Rajoka, welcome. G'day, Lynn in Currumbin Waters, very cold. Currumbin Waters, that's on the Gold Coast, isn't it, Lynn? When you say very cold, I think that's a relative Queensland term by comparison with other parts of the world, if that's where you are. G'day, Gail, like that Geelong. Gail's from Geelong. That's cold. All right. Welcome, everyone else. If we haven't said g'day yet, we're glad to have you here. And we're going to do something a little bit different today. Let me find out how to switch this over and show you what we're up to. We are going to paint, well, not that. Come on, Rod. Get it together. We're going to paint that. That, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a cow. That's about the extent of my technical knowledge. Now, somebody here on the live stream will know what type of cow that is. But I just thought it might be, just to mix it up a little bit, one of the elements that we often find in a landscape, of course, is going to be cows and the like. So just thought we would mix it up a little and see how we go with doing a cow using the Moore method of painting. And we will probably do this over 2 sessions, I'd say, in the same way we've done some of our landscapes recently. So we'll just take our time with it, partly because I'm still not 100%, otherwise we might have done it today. G'day Julie in New Zealand, and Barbara in Mornington Peninsula, welcome. G'day Barb in Vancouver Island. Brown cow, says Sonia. That's about the extent of my cow knowledge as well, which clearly goes to show we know nothing about cows. It's a blocking in cow, says Marie. I don't know if that's what you meant, Marie, but we'll go with that. All right, let us just have a little look here at our cow. And, step 1 of the Moore method of painting is what? Type it in if you know. I definitely need to learn, Sujata says, I definitely need to learn how to paint a cow or any animal for that matter. Very good. Well, you've come to the right place today. Sujata, you are in luck. G'day Gail in Wyoming and Carlene in California and Kathy in West Fargo. G'day John. And so we're going to use the morning April, 19 degrees here in Maryborough. April thinks 19 degrees is cold. Isn't that beautiful? But yeah, it is a bit chilly. Actually, I feel warm today. I don't know. Maybe I've still got a fever or something. Okay, Sonia says, draw the big shapes. Yes. So before we can draw the big shapes, we need to be able to identify the big shapes. So let me just get my little pen here. And so we've got this cow, right? Now the first thing I would look at with this, if we were to do the cow in a painting like we see it in the reference photo, the first thing I would do is say, okay, where's the horizon line, which is kind of running downhill. And to me, it's sort of run about there, or maybe a little bit higher, but that's the sort of angle there. So we've got all this foreground area here, right? That's one big shape. And then we've got the background. Like the background's pretty much not, if we're going to do this as a cow portrait kind of thing, right, where the cow is like front and center, then that background is really pretty much nondescript. I wouldn't get into it too much. Do you know what I mean? So we've basically got 2 sort of distinct areas and a big old cow in the way, right? So to me, we've got 3 shapes really in big shape terms. And if we wanted to, we could include the little guy out the back there. In fact, that's probably not a bad little counterbalance, the little piece of the cow sticking out the back there. So when I look at this, I go, okay, where is the cow? How does it anchor into the ground, right? So I showed you before that I think the horizon line sort of up the hill sort of is sitting up around about there with grasses growing off it. But the anchor point for the cow is right here, right? And then we've got this shadow through there. So that's the first thing I would look at, is where does it anchor? And then the other thing I'd look at then is where does it sort of terminate? And I do the same thing with a tree, right? We find where it anchors into the ground, where does it terminate in the sky? And that starts to give me some reference, right? And then we can say, okay, that's her there and there. Okay, so now we've sort of got a feeling of the overall shape or size of how she fits in as a big shape within the other shapes, right? And then I'd start to break her down a bit. Give her a hard time and, no, just kidding. So the way I'd break her down is I'd go, okay, really that's a rectangle with a bit of a rounder bit here and there, okay? So a rectangle there. And then we've got another rectangle piece there. And then the head of a cow, I haven't had too much experience with cows, but they've got this sort of wedge shape head, right? So this is how I'm going to sort of approach this subject. And then we will indicate, but we won't overstate the back cow. I'll put her in purple. We'll indicate her, but we won't put anywhere near as much work into here as we're going to put into our main cow. Okay? Is that making sense so far? Is everybody with me? Or am I off on a tangent? Everybody with me? Just let me know we're on track. Lynn thinks this is a Jersey cow. Cool. Robert says 9 degrees in Ireland, midnight. Nice and mild. So that's heading into summer for you guys. So just to give April some perspective. Sherry, in the US it would be a red Agnes. Yeah, it could very well be a red Agnes here as well, Sherry. Gail says big shapes. Yep. Find the value. Yeah, not quite find the values at this stage, Gail, but we'll definitely do that in the next little phase we're going to go through. Okay. Alrighty, we've got a few people saying they're with me. Cool, cool. Gail agrees with Sherry that it's a red Agnes. Certainly looks like a red Agnes, doesn't it? Not that I'd know. I don't know what a red Agnes looks like, but if you were going to tell me it was a red Agnes, I'd buy into that story, no problem. Linda says big shapes, yes. Lexi says drawing it, yeah, and drawing the big shapes is what really the more method of painting is about, identifying the big shapes and then drawing them in the right spot and the right shape on our canvas, alrighty? So, okay, looks like everyone's with me. An Aussie shorthorn, says John. Don't know, I've never heard of an Aussie shorthorn, but you could be right. Alrighty, let me just backtrack here. Draw the big shapes is Sonia. Morning, Lindley, in a cold Greenvale. What's it, got under 20 degrees, has it, Lindley? That's what my mum always says to me. What is it, under 20 degrees? Julie's with me. Good on you, Julie. Appreciate that. Barbara is with me. Yep. Okay, cool. Morning, Yvonne. Beautiful cow. Who are you calling a beautiful cow? Drawing the shapes makes it look easy. Yeah, when you start to sort of block it out like that, it makes it look a little bit more achievable, doesn't it, when you break it down like that? So let us now go to the palette. It's one thing to fiddle around with the computer. And look, what I'm doing there, just sort of identifying like where are some block sort of shapes within the cow. Highly recommend you do that. You know, like even if you printed it out and got a texter and just start playing around with it before you start trying to paint it. Because what it does is it just starts to put the image and how you're going to approach the image or the subject into your mind, right? So Gary says rectangle plus wedge equals a cow. Gotcha. One other step though, Gary, beyond that, and that is to be able to draw it. Jersey cow, says Jenny. You're not, don't know, it might be a Jersey cow. Okay, let's come up to the palette and let's get some paint organised. And going to take a little bit more time and care with the drawing and getting that just right today because, look, if it was trees, we could get the drawing inaccurate and still end up with a good painting. If it's a cow and we don't quite get her proportions right, she's going to be unhappy, the painting's going to be unhappy, we'll all be unhappy about that, right? So we'll just take a little bit more time today. So for anybody who's watching along new, our basic palette, ultramarine blue, okay, French ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson or permanent alizarin, and there's a whole lot of names for it, but it's basically it's a cool semi-transparent red. I've got enough white, and I've got yellow, and then so yellow ochre is the yellow that we're going to use, our 3 primary colours. Keeping it really simple, and for this first little part here, there is one other thing I want to point out with the drawing, but what I might do is just get a start first, and then I'll come back to the computer and point out the shadow and light. I think the shadow and light is really important in this particular painting. Valerie's grandma had Jersey, so she thinks it's a Jersey. Very good. It's an Angus, says Gary. Alrighty, well, whatever it is, she's about to be immortalised. Now, I took that photo up near Mullaney. For those who know the area here. All right, we need camera 2, right? There we go. Yeah, took it up near Mullaney, which is in the hinterland area. of the Sunshine Coast, and I like the lighting effect on her. That I pulled over because there was a whole group of the cows. In fact, I think we've used one of the photos from that little photo session previously in an episode of Learn to Paint TV. Probably use a couple. Okay, so I'm just mixing the blue and the red. Ultramarine blue, French okay, start again. Ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and I'll put a little bit of yellow ochre in there just to move it away from purple. And she's actually, because she is a orangey brown, we may as well make our dark lean towards orangey brown. The way we do that, we just put a little bit more red and yellow in and a little bit less blue. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay. Now, first sort of initial problem is my board is 8 by 10. Okay, I've just got a little canvas panel, and it's slightly different orientation to the photo. The photo's slightly wider. Okay, so I'm gonna have to make some adjustments. But the first thing I want to establish is, I mentioned before, the hill line is running somewhere like that on a slight downhill. Okay, and then we said that her feet are going to follow the same sort of hill line to about there. Okay, and then her head and shadow from her head is around about there, and that sort of comes up into there a little, and then I have to establish how high up does she come. Okay, so is she coming up to about there? Okay. That might be too high. I think she's more like this rectangle sort of shape. And then we've got that rectangle coming out there. And then, as Gary has pointed out, a bit of a wedge shape there. Okay. Now I need to look at the photo rather than making assumptions. That's going to come out there. And that's a little bit higher there, and that's a little bit more in there. Okay, so that gives me a sort of a blocky feel for her. And that neckline comes to about there. So this is probably a more complex drawing exercise than what we're used to. We're just going to think it out logically, and I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, expect that I'll get it perfect, because I haven't done this type of shape for a while. So we'll just treat it as practice. Okay, there's a little bit that comes in underneath there, and then that rises up to about there. Now I think her body is potentially a little bit too long. Maybe not. Round that off the back there. Yeah, that's actually about there. That part there. Okay. Would have been a good idea, prior to tackling this, to actually sketch it out a few times. I just picked this photo like literally 5 minutes ago, and I probably should have had a go at just doing a bit of a drawing of it first. So that's a lesson for me, but we won't be deterred by that at this stage. We'll just have to manage our expectations as to how good it's going to turn out. But come on, Rod, be confident. Okay. So that foot and that head are not in alignment, so I need to fix that. The head, this area in here is wrong. Okay. That's that foot there. That foot comes back there. Okay, so those 2 feet are roughly on the same line, and then these 2 here. And that comes that way. Okay, so this in here feels like it should just be a little bit lower. And that around about there. So I'm just going to have to keep working this back and forward just until I get a feel for it, that her shape is starting to look right. So I know her head's not right. There, that one's there. So that hoof comes to there. So let me just rub the head out. Hopefully you probably are all commenting about how bad the head is. I can't see the comments just at the moment, but get rid of that. Doesn't matter. So her head, where her mouth is touching the grass, is around about the same line as that hoof there. And it's around about there. And the head's actually bigger than what you think it is. Comes up, the gap in there isn't so great, so it comes more that way. There, and then up through. That's starting to look a bit better, isn't it? Not perfect, but better. Maybe that needs to come out just slightly there. And possibly her head could be just slightly bigger, but I won't make it too much bigger just yet. We'll find that out. And then there's that shadow coming off her body there. Okay. So proportionally, starting to feel a little bit better than what it was. That area there obviously helped. And then we've got old mate cow number 2 with its bum in the air there. How'd you like to be the cow with your bum in the air? Eh? And that was your claim to fame in a painting. I don't know why I thought of that, just ignore that comment. Okay, so that's maybe a little touch big, but that's okay. All right, I'm just going to pause, and we're going to have another look at the photo reference. But first, let me just check out. It's an Indian holly cow, says Manju. Okay, seems like you're more interested in identifying the cow in question. Okay. Morning to all those who have just joined us. Where are we going here? We're going across to number 4 and number 1. I'll bring this back up. There we go. All right. Thank you, Yvonne. Okie doke. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to point out, which I didn't point out before about the cow, and I think this is a really important thing just to have a awareness of, right? Is it, and part of the reason why I picked this photo, there we go. Part of the reason why I picked this photo is because it's really, there's two values in the cow. Okay, really, there's probably subtle shifts, but if we chunk down to a 5 value scale, I'm going to call this two different values in this cow. Okay, there's a dark value and then there's a light value. So the dark value runs, I'll just outline the dark value here for you. And if you can see this, this will make your life a lot easier. Okay, all of that's dark. There's a little bit of light in there, but there's a little bit of dark just there. And of course we've got our dark in the shadows, right? That's all one value, pretty much. Might maybe put a little bit more shadow there and there. Okay, so this is value 1, V1, and then this becomes V2, right? Value 2. Now there's some subtle shifts, not so much in the darks, mainly because the camera would have compressed the values and the shifts it within the dark tone, but certainly within her highlighted area, there are some subtle shifts in there. If I get rid of that for a moment and have a look at the highlighted area, there are definitely some value shifts in there, but they're still quite compressed. So in other words, the value shifts within here, slightly darker, slightly lighter. They're so close, there's not a lot of contrast in those different values that it's almost worth just treating it all as one big values area, right? So the second part of this drawing is to really be able to just draw a line around where we're going to put the dark values and where we're going to put the light value, or mid to light. It's not really a highlight. There's a rim shot highlight running sort of around there. You can sort of see it on the back of that one as well, which we could get to, but I'm not going to fuss too much if we don't get to it, just so that you're aware of it, okay? Gal thinks the neck's too long. Yeah, you could be right. Gary thinks cow number 2 looks like it's being given birth to by cow 1. Okay. Let me have another look. Yep, I think you're right about the neck being too long. Thank you for that. How do I get back to what I'm doing here? There we go. Yeah, I've got my neck too long for sure. But that's probably not going to be that difficult to fix. I think maybe the neck needs to come out around about there and more around about there. Maybe even a little bit more, hey? About there. I'm going to fix that with the background. So I'll just make sure I'm aware of it. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to paint in just a dark green tone for the whole background, and then we'll put some highlights on it later on. But for the time being, I just want it like a wash in the background, and I'll use that to carve out our cow shape. Okay, so something like that. I'll make it a bit lighter. So just using our 3 primaries. Okay, and I'm going to do this pretty loosely. I'll use thicker paint around there just to carve out that head, but kind of the way you do portraits, where you sort of just wash in a background, and using a dark green, it'll, we can use it later on as the shadow tone for some trees and so on. And Gary thinks we should drop our second cow, which we may do. I'll leave it in for the moment, But we'll take on board Gary's comments. Could very well be right. I'll leave it in for the moment just to see, and if it doesn't work, we'll turn that into a bush of some description. Okay. Use the background just to carve out our Angus Jersey Australian red brown cow. Mulaney, we'll just go with Mulaney cow. She's a Mulaney cow. All right. Okay, and as I come in here, I'm going to need thicker paint. Not too thick though, because I may need to reshape again. So it's brought her head a little bit closer. Kind of feel like just a little bit of maybe a little bit more width, but I think overall the shape of her is reasonable. I think when you guys have a go at it on your own and you're not jibber jabbering and whatnot, you'll do a much better job in getting her proportions in just right. Okay. But the great thing about painting is, especially, well, I guess it's true of most paints except for maybe watercolour, and watercolour purists will tell me I'm wrong, but the great thing about painting is we're not really that locked into anything here at the moment. It's definitely more bulk in that part. Yeah, everything can be changed, and that's really what I think good painting is putting something down and then starting to adjust it and modify it. Okay, for that foreground, I might just go a yellow ochre-y feel for the moment. Get a little bit more light onto it. A little pinhead of red just to warm it up. Okay, the main reason why I'm doing blocking in sort of a washy tone is just to sort of separate the cow from the background. I just find it'll be easy to work on her by doing that. But I'm doing this really, really thin. Probably should add that in there. Get rid of all that white canvas there. Okay. All right, now, thinking that neck goes up a little bit more up that way. The other thing I've noticed is she kind of feels like she's twisted away. Her rump is further away from her front leg. So, and I haven't quite captured that. But I think we'll just stick with it. We'll just stick with the way I've drawn it. So the drawing's not quite right. We just had a look at the shadow and light pattern. So let's get in now with a dark tone. Blue, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and yellow, not too much yellow. So now this was a little bit more on the blue side. A little bit of yellow ochre just to keep it away from being too purple. Okay. And I need to just redraw, like I showed you before, where the shadow is, right? So it's on this leg here and up into there. And then it comes up here to there and then down. Oop. Down into there, and then that comes down there, and then this part here comes right up to about there, and then it comes down that way into that leg. So I've got like this wedge of light, okay, in there, and that comes up to that part there, that runs down there, and all of that now comes into shadow. And shadow under there. This is a cheaper canvas panel, and it's going to push the paint into it a little bit harder. The troubles of the modern day artist, eh? Okay, so can you see how I'm carving out the very distinct shadow pattern, which will then leave us with the mid-tone area. And if we get it just right, the drawing, then she'll start to look like a cow. If we get the overall drawing, perspective of it right, and then, you know, where the light and shadow tones are, then we should have ourselves a cow starting to form. Now there will be areas where, like on this hoof right here, she's actually in light, catching a little bit of light there. But I'm not going to worry about that too much. And also, as I've blocked it in, I've changed the shape a little bit there. So it's not quite right. But again, I'm not going to worry about it because I can reshape it as I work on it. Just getting the general feel of it at the moment. Okay, there's a bit of light in there, which we'll capture later on. Actually, that hoof really wants to come out more that way, I think. Which means I need to get in there. So I'm talking out loud, like my thoughts. So hopefully I won't give away my PIN number of my bank cards or anything while I'm talking out loud. So I'm just thinking it through is basically what I'm doing. So you guys are eavesdropping in on my internal dialogue. Okay, so this leg here has to come a bit more that way. Yeah, it falls directly in line with that, so it's more that way. Okay, we've got that one there. Okay. All right, that's feeling like it's working to me. Feeling like it's working. I've just noticed looking in the monitor. It's funny how when you look at things directly on, you can't see the issues. But I just noticed when I looked in the monitor then that I've got the head coming that way. See that? On that angle. Look at the photo reference and her head's actually going in the other way. The head's coming more that way. And then more down that way. Okay, now does it matter? Probably not. Because who's going to ever know if we don't show them the photo, right? But just for the sake of pointing it out, I'll. But again, I'm not fussed because look, I can just change the angle just by repainting it, putting in the background. Okay. Neck's quite thick in that part there. There's a little bit that's hanging down there, but I won't get too worried about that. Okay. Okay. So that leg there has to sit back a bit. All right, I feel like we're getting there. So now I'll mix up an orangey brown. How do you mix up an orangey brown? Really, really simple. Get our mucky alizarin crimson there. An orangey brown is basically an orange, as the name suggests. Oh, let me have a look there. Okay, so we need an orange, so red and yellow. That might be too dark. I think the value is probably lighter than that. And the question I'm wondering is, do we need to put any blue into that? I will just put in a tiny little pinhead just to make it slightly more brown. And then let me just lighten off part of that. Problem when you start to lighten it off with white is you're going to get a more of a chalky, colder tone. So we just have to be careful of that we don't let it get too cool. Okay, let's take a cow brush. This is a special brush for painting cows. Get this light tone here. Probably reasonably close for an initial attempt. Perhaps a touch redder, touch warmer. Is it light enough? It's going to be tricky because when we get rid of that white, this is going to be the lightest tone apart from the field. And it would be very easy to paint it too dark, so I'll just get a little bit more white into it. And for the moment, I'm going to avoid coming down to these areas where I blocked in the dark. I'll paint over parts of it probably next week. It could be lighter. See, I just, that was the area of greatest contrast is that here. So I'm probably just a little touch dark, I think, with my highlight. It was hard to see it out here against the white, but when I came down and put it against the dark, I thought, yeah, I could go lighter, but that's okay. We'll just treat this as like a middle value, and I'll get some lighter tones onto it next week when this is all dried off a little bit. So for now, I'll just So when I finish putting this in, she's going to look a little bit blocky because I'm doing step 2, right? The blocking step, as we saw last week. Usually when we do our blocking, we're going to end up with a feel of a painting that's quite blocky. Hence the name. Genius, Rod. How'd you think of the name? Well, because, you know. So, that drawing there was wrong. That was part of the problem. Because it's going to end up a little bit blocky, it's not going to quite look right. But then that's when we come in and we start to do our refinement and just starting to tighten up on shapes and pardon me, passages of light and dark and so on. Like in through here, that really needs to be a bit dry for me to really come in and work on that. And what would be good would be to have a brush to push my darks back in at the same time. So a brush for the light and a brush for the darks, right? So make sure you've got plenty of dark there, and then I can just start to just push back up into parts there where I need it. Yeah, I'm still, my proportions are still wrong, so the legs aren't looking right, but I don't know if I'm going to fix that. So if I make those legs longer, they're going to come down lower than here. So I could make that slightly longer. Anywho, so for next week, when we come in and start to refine this, everyone needs to bring one cow joke with them. And we'll start off with a joke session. Because that way if the painting doesn't work, at least we'll have had a laugh, right? I'll just soften that up in there a little. All right. So, feels a little bit more like that. And there's a dark patch right there. my light brush. Still undecided about second cow for the moment. That rump is not quite right. Okay, getting there slowly. Getting there slowly. Slightly more bulging there where the eye socket is here. A little nostril there. No, that's too much. So I'm not going to do anywhere near the amount of information we see in the background for this. I'm really just wanting to pull a cow out from the background. So the way I'd be treating the background just for this particular painting will be to put just a little bit of detail, a few little highlights, but not a lot. So I'll just pop a couple of those in and I'll just warm up the grass a little. So I'm just going for my slightly warmer, the lighter lemon yellow. And I might see how this is the hog hair bristle brush. It's a bit worn and haggard, but probably not a bad option to just load up some paint. And so I definitely don't want to overwork any of this background at all. But we'll just pop a few little hints of light catching on a few branches and things, or trees and things. The background is not the subject at all for this. Just varying it up a little bit, add a little touch of the red into it. Okay, don't overdo it. I'll leave it like that for the moment. Probably don't have room for any more fence posts, but we'll pop one there. Could I get away with one there, or is it going to compete too much with old Jessie here? I don't know if Jessie's a good name for her. So I think we're getting there. I think the biggest issue for me right now is the legs, just tightening up on those and getting more of a feel for them, which we'll do next session. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a fair bit of wet, dark paint in there. And it'll just, if I let it sit overnight, my life will be a lot easier. It's not quite the tone I wanted. Yeah, rather than trying to work into it now while it's wet. We'll save it for next week. It's nowhere near bright enough, is it? Again, I'm reluctant to put white into it because it just dulls it off too much. Have you ever seen paintings where, or maybe you've done paintings, where they end up kind of chalky looking? It's probably because you're using too much white. Right, so have a go at this one. You can complete it if you want between now and our next session, up to you. I'm going to pull up around about here. And then we'll bring it to a finish next time. Too much of a lump on her head there. Neckline's not quite right. A few little things. Okay, just a reminder for those who are interested, won't be for everyone, but tomorrow we're doing a live chat presentation on how to move beyond the hobby artist level and start selling your artwork. It'll be a similar presentation to what we did during the Unleash the Artist Within challenge. Similar presentation, so if you've already seen it, I mean, unless you really want to see it again, you don't necessarily have to watch it. But for anybody who's interested in starting to learn how to sell your artwork, we'll be talking about that for about an hour and a half tomorrow. We're starting at the same time as we did today. It won't be on Facebook though, you'll need to register for it. So I'll pop the link up for you in a moment to do that. And you're welcome to join us. So I'll go through a blueprint to getting started selling your artwork, not necessarily where you want to sort of spend all of your career as an artist, but how to get started and get used to making sales and things like that. So if that's of interest to you, I'll pop the link up in here in a moment for you, and I'm going to stop fiddling, let that settle down. This dark tone can be hard sometimes in this lighting, because if I paint it in a certain direction, then the light bounces off it and I can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, that's enough whinging, right? First world problems. Stop fiddling, Rod. Let it rest. And alrighty. So if you have already registered for tomorrow, then I'll be emailing out the link for the live stream shortly, and look out for that. If you haven't registered and you want to, then I'll post the link into the comments in just 1 second. I'm just going to find it. We've had over 250 people register for it, so maybe you've already registered for it. Here we are. Copy this. So, any questions on what we've done so far? I mean, basically, we've followed the same process we ordinarily would, just that, silly bugger. Just that we have a little bit more work to do in shaping up the cow's shape and a approach on how to do that. It's not an easy one to demonstrate. Okay, here we go. Boom. That's the one. So I'm going to drop it into the if you want to join us for that tomorrow, it'll be the same time as what we start this presentation, but there will be a different address. If you're already signed up as a member for ABA, you're more than welcome to join us on it. Absolutely. However, it's going to be a similar presentation to what we did, when I introduced it to you as part of the Unleash the Challenge, the Artist Within Challenge. So I'm just dropping it into the Facebook chat now for you, so you have to scroll to the bottom of the chat. But you're more than welcome to join us, absolutely. If you want a refresher on what we went through and so on, then you absolutely join us. So just register, because I will be emailing out a couple of times. I'm going to send an email out now to everyone who's registered with the link to join us live. It won't be available in the members site, no. It's going to be a special link on the Artist Business Academy, and the only way you'll be able to get that link is if you've registered, and I'll email it to everyone. So what I'll also do is then tomorrow morning before we go live, I'll email it out to everyone a couple of times, maybe an hour before and then 5 minutes before. So just check your email for the link, and it'll be really simple. You just click on the link and it'll open up, and away we go. Alrighty. So we're going to talk about an approach, not the approach, because there's multiple ways of starting to earn an income from your art. But we're going to talk about how do you move beyond the hobby level. And the hobby artists, they get reasonably good at art. They enter a couple of local art shows. They occasionally sell some art, get a commission from a friend once a year, that type of thing. But they don't have any real plan and system and approach to generating regular income. So we're going to talk about how do you go from that sort of position, hobby, accomplished artist who doesn't earn a regular income, to somebody who starts to treat it like a business, right? And starts to have a plan and a process to generate a regular income. We're going to talk about hitting the first sort of rung on the ladder as a selling artist, $500 a month regular income, right? Which pays for your art supplies, it pays for you to go to workshops and online courses and books and a bit of pocket money left over, right? And so it's a good place to get to. Sujata says, if we're already a member of ABA, do you need to register? Yes, you do, because it won't be in the members area. So just to get the link, to make sure you get it, make sure you register. So you just got to pop your email address in. And then I'll just, rather than email everybody and annoy everybody with it, because I know it's not for everyone. If you have no intention of selling your artwork, then it's not much point joining us, right? It's only for those who are thinking about, I wonder if I could start selling my artwork, right? And doing it on a regular basis. So yeah, pop your email address in and we'll see you all tomorrow. So that's enough about that. Let me just scroll back and see if I've got any comments I need to... Manju's got a joke. I thought I heard you say you were going to use a cow brush now to paint the cow. I did say that, Manju. You've got to have a cow brush. If you use a cow brush to paint a cow, do you use the hog brush to paint a hog? Yeah, you need a tree brush and a rock brush. Very good. So if I've missed your comments, I do apologise. It's looking good. Rod, mine is bogged in the muddy foreground. Good on you, Colin. That's not a bad way to approach it as well. But you know, what I've done now, I've just roughed that in. You could spend a bit more time and make your foreground more interesting. I don't know if it's going on there. Oh, it's that dark. We'll just get rid of that. Yeah, we could spend a bit more time than what I've done. Trying to keep these to a reasonable time frame. All right. Sonia says, Sonia, you've joined us in the ABA, Artist Business Academy. So for those who aren't familiar, I'm about to launch the Artist Business Academy later this year. But we opened up an opportunity for a few people to come and join us as an early bird member. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. But I'll also present to you how to get started with selling your art and doing it on a regular and consistent basis. Gary, I've just dropped that link into the chat there again for you. Sherry says, love listening to the working process of a great artist in this picture. You're like eavesdropping on my thought process. I actually think it's, hopefully it's helpful for you guys. I've just got in the habit now of talking out loud, and hopefully you pick up where I'm going with it and what I'm thinking. Pauline says she's loving ABA so far. Really excited to have a few questions. Where do I send them? Pauline, just hold off on your questions. Debbie, I'll repaste the link into the chat there on Facebook for you. Just make a list of your questions, Pauline, and we'll be getting together for a Q&A type of session. I just want everyone to go through Module 1 first and start to actually apply Module 1, and then we'll get into a Q&A in the next 2 weeks or so, okay? Or in the interim, send them through to our support desk. I think we have one other person do that, and they'll forward it to me, and I'll shoot you back a quick reply. Carlene says, yes, seize the movement. Moo. Woody says, my cow shape so terrible, but anyway, try sketching it out with a pencil a few times, which is what I should have done, Winnie Lee. Another day, another dollar. Carlene's on fire with the cow references. Think she needs a double chin. I've got enough double chin for the both of us. Good on you, Gary. Gary's joke is, and I have to let you know, I'm a vegan, so I'm not sure that I'm not really a vegan. I'm a plant-based, so I don't eat any animal products. So I'm not sure that I appreciate this joke, but I'm sure everyone else does. At last, a painting I can get my teeth into. Very good. The stakes are high. Okay, you guys are on a roll already. I said to bring these next week. You're a chunky animal. Rosalie says she can see that looking at the negative shape will help her with the drawing. Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult one to to draw off of that reference. That's why I put in the background, even if it's just a very loose wash, just so I could get a feel for it. Chrissy says, less angle, that's earlier comments. Where are we? Utterly awesome, says Lindley. Thanks, Yvonne. Good luck with that, Catherine. Hope it all goes well. Julie says it's coming together. Thank you, Julie. Thanks, Diane. Yes, it's, just process of pulling it together. Now I've got the bull by the horns. Yes, one cow joke, because I know a few of you are on a roll here. Bring your best cow joke and fire away. Alrighty. Friends, hope that was helpful. Have a go at this. The reference photo's up on our Facebook page. And look, sometimes it's good to look at it in reverse. I'm looking on my monitor here. I've got a monitor so I can see what's being broadcast. And I can see the photo reference and that side by side, right? If I look at it directly on, you don't see everything. But now I'm looking at it in the monitor, I can see, I've got real problems with the value of the body. So I need to lighten that right up next time, okay? So I think we were talking about looking at it through a mirror, and I think Gary mentioned, having it on a monitor and so on. What do you call a cow that drinks too much coffee? Over caffeinated. Cow picture is posted, Sandy. You're currently logged into the members area, so it's in the activity stream of the members area. You'll find it there, and it's also on the Facebook page for the Learn to Paint Academy. Sujata is also plant-based, no oil. I occasionally have oil, but I try and get rid of the oil. Friends, so glad you could join me today. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see some of you tomorrow for a chat about the business side of art. I'll tell you more about the Artist Business Academy, and I'll map out a plan for you. Whether you choose to follow it, I mean, it's completely up to you, but the knowledge doesn't hurt. And I'll also see you all on Friday, my time, for our coffee chat, and then we'll roll into next week. All right. By the way, I've been working on the values course, and part of the values course is now in the members area of the Learn to Paint Academy. It's probably about a third done. So I'll drip feed more content out in the next few weeks. We'll just keep adding to it. So that's the last course that we're including in the fundamentals program. And so the other courses are, of course, the composition and design course, the colour mixing course. So we've just added the values course. There's the drawing course and brushes and brushwork, right? So there's 5 main courses in the fundamental program. And what we're going to do is, once I've got that values course finished, I'm going to stop building new courses, and I'm going to go back in and make sure that I add everything we can figure out, because I'm constantly researching and learning and going through courses and buying books, right? So I'm just like this machine that just takes in all this information, and I'll pick out what is important for us to move forward as artists, and I'll keep building out those courses in the fundamentals course. And so within a year or two, it'll be the most comprehensive collection of information on the fundamentals. The biggest problem is when you're trying to learn to paint, I believe fundamentals make up 80% of the difference, right, of whether you're going to get good at painting or not. So it's not good enough to have an intellectual understanding of, say, values or colour, the colour wheel. You have to have a practical understanding, which means it's a bit like reading a book on golf, right? You could read 10 books on golf, and you could have a conversation about golf with a golfer and know all about golf, right? But the day you pick up a club and you stand out in front of the clubhouse where all the members are in the bar, and you start swinging that thing at the little white ball, you realise there's only so much you can learn from a book, right? So to me, fundamentals are everything. You've got to learn them and practice them. But I've not yet been able to find one body of information which covers all the fundamentals in enough depth to go from absolute beginner to intermediate to master level. I've just not come across something quite like that in a way that makes sense, yeah, and is easy to follow. That's user friendly, right? I have seen a few bits and pieces, but either they cater only for master level, or you know what I mean. Like there's just nothing that covers the whole spectrum, and that's what I'm working on. Is tomorrow's at the same time? Yes, absolutely. All of our live streams, for the most part, same time. However, it's not going to be on Facebook. So let me just say it one more time. It's not going to be on Facebook. You need to register with that link I posted into the comments, and I'll, as soon as we wrap up here, I'm going to email everyone with the link to go that you'll need to be able to access the live stream tomorrow. Okay. Back on Friday, our coffee chat, of course, will be back in the same place, and so on. So make sure you register only if you're interested, right? So Peter says, have registered but not a member of the Artist Business Academy. Can I still access? Yeah. So what I'll do is everyone who's registered with their email, I'll put up the replay for a week, and I'll email you all the link to the replay if you can't make the live. I'd suggest making the live if you can. I know, Peter, you've got other commitments, but if you can make the live, you'll get a lot more out of it, because we will be going through a little exercise, and it will help you to get clarity, and I can answer your questions based on that exercise in a live format. But there will be a replay. I'll make sure everyone has opportunity to it. And so what we did when we ran this session in the Unleash the Artist Within, we opened up an opportunity for people to come and join the Artist Business Academy, only if you're really interested in it. I want to really stress that, right? We don't join if you're not really, really serious about trying to sell your artwork or create other income streams. So we'll do it again tomorrow. I'll give everyone an opportunity to come and join us at an early bird price. And then I'll close it down, and I'll work on building the content in it, and we probably won't launch it until later this year. And the whole idea of it will be comprehensive training for artists on the things that they really don't like. Business, sales, marketing, how to create different income streams. And it's something I get asked all the time about. How do I do what you're doing is often the question I get, because I've gone from an absolute beginner in November 2010 to creating a reasonably successful business with multiple streams of income, not just one, which is really important. So the Artist Business Academy, when we get it rolling later this year, early next year, will be a really comprehensive training platform for artists who want to move beyond the hobby level. So yeah, that's probably enough about that. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you all soon. Enjoy your day. Happy painting. Have a go at this one, and